Welcome, everybody. We are live on the Phenomenonormal podcast. Tonight's subject is the flat Earth. Is the Earth actually flat, round, or is it neither? I am your host for tonight, Aaron, and our co-host tonight is Josh. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi.
Hi. Please remember, we go live every other Tuesday and Wednesday at 5 p.m. US time and 10 p.m. UK time. Podcast will eventually be uploaded to YouTube shortly after, except for specials, but this is not a special, so don't worry about that. So don't forget to follow us on Twitch and subscribe on YouTube. I'd like to remind everyone we do have a Discord where you can join, discuss topics with us, share your experiences, and even participate in our discussions. It's relatively new, we're still working out the quirks, but hopefully with enough time it'll be a wonderful place to be with all of you in there with us. So I think we should. Do you have anything else you need to add?
Yeah, if you want to watch the Halloween special, today is the last day to watch it on Twitch. After that, it will be gone. So go over and check out our past content here on Twitch. Today is gonna be the last day for it being uploaded on there, as well as our Paranormal Ghosts podcast that we did on the same day. So if you are interested in watching those, today's your last chance. If you want to watch the ghost one, you can go to YouTube.
Yeah. So yeah, the flat Earth. Let's start by premising, when it comes to the Earth, there's been many discussions of this throughout history, right? Is the Earth flat? Is it round? Are we in a solar system? Blah, 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 you know. Tons of philosophers and all kinds of people from so long ago have always been discussing this subject. So, to some, the Earth is flat. It literally has an edge, but you can't ever reach it because supposedly there is a giant ice wall which prevents you from doing so, and the world's governments won't let you cross it, is what some theorize. Others say the round Earth was something that was made up to keep us in the dark. There's been so many discussions on this, and the problem is, some people are so lost in their belief they will literally scream and fight people over whether the Earth is flat or not.
I think
that's how much they care.
Extreme.
Honestly, whether the Earth is flat or round or whatever you believe, I don't think people should be literally fighting and screaming at each other over it, right?
Oh, absolutely not. That's ridiculous.
Like, it's not that bad. Like, let's say the world government is lying to us, right? All these world governments lying to us, saying, "Oh yeah, the Earth's round." Does it really matter that much? How much of an effect does it have on our day-to-day lives?
Everything.
Like, how important is it to our day-to-day lives whether the Earth's round or not?
It's not important at all.
Right. And this is what I often discuss with my friend AK. He cares so much about the fact that he's been lied to about this, And
Uh,
I'm just like, it
and
doesn't
look,
really
if you're
matter that
upset
much.
that that's what you're upset that they lied to you about over everything else in history that they've lied about, that's just ludicrous to me. That it's like, okay, that's the thing that gets you mad, not the fact that,
But,
governments have
mm.
been literally poisoning their people with in their water supply with,
Oh no,
fluoride
no, no, no.
or
He's mad about all that stuff as well.
but
But I
it's
just mean
just
like,
it's ridiculous though. I mean, you know, I don't want to get too political on it, but it's just there's no reason to physically fight somebody over it.
right.
I get you wanting to get your point across, right? But to me, if you start screaming at somebody and fighting somebody over your ideals, you lost your credibility. You just
Right.
completely lost all your credibility, and there is not a thing you can say to me that's gonna make me want to listen to you or believe you.
Facts. And that's just common sense, right? No one wants to listen to you if you're screaming and crying like a baby. If you're insulting them, nobody's going to join your side of thinking. The way you get people to possibly change to your side is you have a calm discussion, you make valid points, and that will either sway or it won't. Some people are so lost in their ideals they will not change over. But what are your thoughts on the Earth being flat?
Completely ludicrous. I've literally seen the curvature of the Earth when
Right.
anytime I've flown. I've
Hmm.
gone across both the major oceans, right? I've been across the Atlantic and I've been across the Pacific, right?
Right.
Both times, I've seen the curvature of the Earth from up there, up in the
Yeah.
sky. So I know for a fact it's not flat, and people argue, "Oh, it's just smoke and mirrors." I'm like, okay, well, it wasn't smoke and mirrors back when aircraft were invented. It wasn't smoke and mirrors when, because we wouldn't have had the technology. But it wasn't smoke and mirrors
Right.
back in the ancient times either, or medieval times or whatever. You know,
Yeah. I mean,
it's the technology doesn't exist, and it definitely doesn't exist today. I mean, we can't even build a tunnel under the water to England from New York like we want to do.
right.
So it's just to say, oh, it's a giant screen in the sky, and that's completely crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That that
And
that's got to be debunked.
on top of that, a lot of flat earthers also say, well, apparently the windows you look out of in a plane are designed to make it look curved to deceive you. And I call BS because you can't really claim that because even if that was the case, we didn't always have windowed airplanes.
Well, here's the thing, right?
We've had World War II pilots. I mean, look, Amelia
Science
Earhart had for a
has
craft.
science has disproven that the Earth is not flat, and in fact that it's not even round. They've even proved that.
Right.
They said, look, it's not round, it's not flat, it's more of an oval spherical object. It's weird. It's spherical, but it's more of an oval, and it's more of an oval
Yeah.
because we're getting pulled on two separate sides here. We're getting pulled by the moon, and we're getting pulled by the
Hmm.
sun for their gravity, right? Just as
Yeah.
we go around the sun because of the gravity, the moon goes around us because of our gravity. We also get pulled by that, and it stretches our planet out,
Right.
and that's also what creates the tides.
Right.
And right there, that proves that,
Yeah.
Um,
See,
there
another reason why.
was sorry.
No, go
All
ahead,
right,
go
so
ahead. I'll say my point after.
you guys know by now, right? I've already said it on the show multiple times. I'm a historian, right? I love
Hmm.
history. I have a degree in history, and that's just what I always grew up doing. I used to read encyclopedias as a kid because I'm weird. But
Hmm.
um, there's no definitive answer as to when the flat Earth theory came about, right? But people,
Right.
even in like Rome or before that even, right? If you were to say
Yeah.
the Earth was flat, they're gonna call you crazy, right? They would call you crazy.
Right.
They would say you're insane, and they're like, "Oh, well, you can only get to China by going this way. You can't go the other way because there's water." Right? And it's like, okay, well, did you ever go across that water? Well, no. Well, how can you say that the Earth is flat? And that's what they would use to disprove people then, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and, up until, so Leif Erikson's expedition when, for the Vikings, right? When he, it wasn't really an expedition, more so just finding places to raid, but when he finally made it to, the Americas, right? His, he never got really reported to the rest of Europe that, hey, I made it to this new land over here. And the reason for that is one, we were going through kind of like a dark age at the time. If you know, it was around the
Yeah.
1000s, thousands.
Hmm.
So Europe was going through a dark age. And two, it was a Viking that landed there. You know, people weren't too keen on talking to Vikings.
Right.
So,
I mean, understandable. They often raided
so,
and pillaged and stuff like that. So you wouldn't really want to
so
talk
we
to
we
them,
have
honestly.
historical texts, and we also have like monuments and stuff that were over in Newfoundland where he landed, which is why it's
Yeah.
called Newfoundland. It's because that's what the Vikings named it. Um,
Right.
but he landed up near in Canada. Um, and again, it wasn't really reported. And the first reports of finding the New World or Americas was with Christopher Columbus, and he's a touchy
Right.
subject as
Yes.
is, and that was in 1942, right? Where he went to Spain, asked them, they said no. He went to Portugal, they said no. He went back to Spain, they finally said, yeah, take the money, get out of the throne room.
Right.
All right, and it was just a bunch of back and forth between the royalties and the monarchs. There's some more to that.
Right.
I'm just paraphrasing. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and with that, he sailed around the world, right?
Yeah.
Um, and made it, right? And if you really want to disprove this theory, right? Sorry, what was it? Was it Magellan? I want to say it was
I'm not
Magellan.
too
Um,
sure.
let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, it was. Okay, so Magellan, he went all the way around the world.
Yeah.
I'll say that again for people. He went all the way around the world. He started in Spain. He went down to the Canary Islands, Cape Verde Islands, went to St. Lucia Bay, which is Rio de Janeiro, Rio de Solis. He went down to Puerto San Julia. Oh, God, I can't speak Spanish. I'm sorry, guys. I'm butchering these. The All Saints Strait, which is the coast down there in South America, down at the very bottom.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then he sailed around. He went out into the Pacific, came back over to the Mariana Islands, went to the Philippines, down to Indonesia, went right off the coast of Australia. Well, he didn't go to Australia, but he was off the coast of it, still in Indonesia. Went over to Cape of Good Hope and came back up to Spain.
Right.
So, I mean, if you wanted to disprove this, there is no better way to disprove that than just looking at Magellan's voyage that the flat Earth does not exist.
Right. I mean, another thing that I also say as well is, people are, oh, the Earth's flat. I'm sorry, but it's not. There's hills, different levels of terrain. The ocean isn't completely level. That's not a flat surface.
Right,
It's
right.
never going to be flat. I would always bring this up to AK all the time. He's just like, no, the Earth's still flat. If you think about it in terms of like the general surface of the planet is flat, and I'm just like, no, no, that's not what flat means. Flat means a straight
Right.
line.
So,
I know I'm just being a
yeah,
little bit
so
petty and
I
funny
mean,
about it, but
and then they're like, "Oh, it's only flat from north to south." I've heard that argument. It's like, okay, we've been to
yeah,
the South Pole, we've been to the North Pole. There's
yeah,
markers there.
right. I mean,
We've explored almost the entirety of the planet.
yeah.
We know less about our oceans
Just
than we do about the actual
I was about to say that,
overview of
yeah.
our planet.
Yeah, I mean, many people think that we're in some kind of glass dome, right?
Yeah.
You can't actually get to space. You can't launch a rocket into space. Apparently, it gets destroyed in the atmosphere or something like that. Is what they feel like. They tend to believe that apparently it's impossible to fly a rocket into space because there's a big
Yeah.
glass
There's
ceiling.
a video that's out there of a model rocket that went up in the air, and apparently it hits off the glass dome. Right.
Right?
It hit. It's not. That's not the case. It's been debunked. If you want the actual truth, you can look it up. I don't have the page pulled up for it, but
Yeah.
maybe I have to pull it up here later. But no, that's been debunked. It didn't hit some glass ceiling.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that are very, I think, religious also made that claim as well that apparently you can't get to space because God doesn't allow it. Um, and he also, like, AK believes that apparently, all these planets and stuff are lights in the sky controlled by, um, you know, some higher power, possibly the people in charge.
Yeah, I
Um,
would like flat earthers to debate this with Elon Musk or with NASA.
right. Yeah. I mean, I've literally seen a planet in the sky. I'm not talking about through a telescope.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time when I was much younger, and literally you could see another planet from space. It was like the perfect kind of time alignment, whatever it were.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too sure what planet it was because I was a kid at the time. I don't quite remember, but there was definitely a planet visible in the sky. And that says to me, well, how come I only saw it briefly during that time, but then I've never been able to see it in the sky ever since? And that's because the way the solar system works, it revolves around. It rotates, planets move.
Yeah,
It
and
was
if
like a
they think
perfect
this is all
alignment,
just smoke
perfect.
and mirrors,
Mm,
right, and that we're like some only planet on some experiment, that's just conceded.
yeah,
You're conceding,
and I'm sorry. Yeah, uh,
because you know, to say that that would mean that alien life doesn't exist, right? Alien life
yeah,
doesn't exist. We're just in this glass bubble put here by whatever power. It's conceded.
right. And also, on top of that, if all these other planets are around, why is the Earth the only one that isn't?
Right.
And answer me that one. Why is everything else round, and then you just got the Earth that's all super flat? Like, it's a bit ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Like, we're not some semicircle in space. You
Right.
know,
Right.
that's not how planets work. You're not a semicircle in space. It's
Right.
a. They argue that supposedly, the Earth's supposed to be spinning super fast, right?
Right. It
Because
is.
that's what we're told in science, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they argue that, well, why can't we feel it? But if you go on a train and a train is traveling at, say, 50, 60 mile per hour and you jump, you're not flying to the back of the bloody train
Right. Right.
because it's centralized gravity to the point that you're at.
Right. The speed of the train is traveling at such a speed that if you were to jump, so if you were to jump right on a train, right, you would land in the same
Right.
spot, right? But if someone was looking at you through a
Right.
window, it would look as if you bounced backward a little bit,
Yeah.
right? And that's just because of how gravity works and how it basically gravity. That's what it is. It's how gravity works. It's how mass when mass is moving and how that works.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
but it's just same thing on an airplane, right? You jump on an airplane, right? You're not going flying backwards.
right. Despite that, objects obviously traveling much faster. So the same can be said. That's probably why we don't feel. Um, that's probably why we don't feel the Earth spinning because it's centralized gravity. I mean, when you jump in the air on that train, you don't feel the train's
I
motions
mean,
because you're in the air.
I'll put it this way: you do feel the earth spinning. You do. Whenever there's wind blowing,
Right.
the wind blowing is created from the earth spinning. So it's not just some giant fans, you know.
Right. I mean, it's just one of those. Um, and most of the time, whenever I try and discuss this with somebody who believes the Earth is flat, they won't let me finish what I'm saying. They always feel the need to interrupt and talk over you, rather than let you finish your point. This is also a problem a lot of
Well,
people have when it comes to discussions.
it's the same thing with like these college campuses, right? I watch all these videos, right? They'll have these
Right.
public speakers. They
Yeah.
don't agree with them, right? Left or right, right?
Right.
Of political aisles, right? It's mostly political talks that they do, right? I
Yeah.
see these videos on, but it's left or right does not matter, right? The other side always yells and gets louder so that way the person can't speak, right? They want to be heard. They want to be, the loudest voice in the room, right?
Yeah.
But what's crazy about that is that when you yell and shout and scream like that, you are so
Right.
discredited. No one cares about what you have to say because you're just being obnoxious. The quiet person that waits their turn and then speaks in a calm and clear, concise voice is the person that has more credibility towards that.
Right.
I don't know. Some people say it's a generational thing. I disagree with that. I see people of all ages doing this. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just it's almost like especially for public speakers and they're talking about government stuff. It's a limitation of freedom of speech. That's what these people are doing. A lot of times it's some
Right.
and these kids and adults even who do that don't realize that that's a communist fascist view. When you start screaming and shouting over somebody else and calling them a communist and
Yeah.
fascist, you're actually being one because you're preventing them from
Right.
speaking. So,
Yeah.
in a two-way conversation there, be respectful and have that talk, you can have
Oh yeah.
disagreeing views. Like I said, like we've done on this channel, me and Aaron have had different views on many topics here,
Oh
but
yeah.
we calmly discuss it. We let each other speak, and you've
Right.
always heard me. I accidentally spoke over him a couple times. I'm like, sorry, go ahead. Like
Yeah.
I sit there and I listen and take in his
Yeah.
viewpoints.
Right. And then there's been times where I've said my viewpoints and Josh still disagrees. That's fine.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
Because that's the way a conversation is supposed to be had. That's how a discussion is supposed to be had. And the problem is, I know we're not. This isn't really on topic, but the people who we look up to that influence us, a lot of people don't lead by example. And
Yes.
that's why a lot of people these days tend to have this way of trying to have a discussion where they have to
Yeah.
fight and argue and scream and shout and talk over each
Yep.
other. And whenever somebody starts to win and get their point across, they always feel like they need
Right.
to be louder to try and drown it out because, oh no, they're talking about something that's shattering my
If
worldview of whatever I believe
and
in.
if you are a believer of flat
And
Earth, sorry, but if you are a believer of flat Earth and you just disagree with us and you're shouting and yelling at your computer screen, that's your right. Good for you. Right?
yes,
You can have your viewpoint and we're not trying to discourage you from having your viewpoint. We're just sharing our
oh no,
opinion
right, yeah.
based off of scientific
Um,
fact.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I've got no problem with anybody who has a different belief than me. Um, as far as I'm concerned, you're entitled to your viewpoint, your belief, and you're allowed that viewpoint and belief.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you what you should and shouldn't think. All I can do is come from a logic point of view and what I believe to be facts or information, say that, and it's your choice whether you take it on board and listen or whether you still disagree. That's your choice. That's what you believe. It's okay. No one's going to have a go at you. So, whenever we are having discussions like this and you have a different viewpoint, feel free to put it in the comments or
Yeah.
something like that. Say, well, I believe this because of this reason, and we'll have a discussion with you. Don't be afraid and think we're going to shout at you like so many people do these
I'm
days
not gonna show it you.
because
I
that's
might
not going to
disagree
happen.
with you, but I'm not gonna show it you.
Right. Because that's the whole point of these podcasts is for us to have a discussion on topics that we like to talk about and things that we're passionate about at the end of the day.
You know, part of me honestly thinks, maybe there is a flat Earth though, because we get lied to about so much stuff. What's one more lie about saying
Right.
the Earth is round?
Right. That's fair. That's fair.
That's the only
Um,
argument you can make to me that would make me actually believe you. I think
right.
on that.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, I believe in the round Earth. Um,
I believe in the oval Earth.
if if the Earth is flat, and I'm wrong, fair enough. I was wrong. Uh, the problem is there's so much information and misinformation out there that it's unless you actually find out for yourself, there's no way to really properly, claim something, right? You get so much information from so many different angles of different viewpoints. It's hard to make a decision, but I've seen people that have gone on those massive towers that go up into the upper atmosphere, and you can see the curvature on their cameras, right? So that says to me the Earth can't just straight up be flat. I've been on planes. I see the curvature. That says to me the Earth just can't straight up be flat.
Planes aren't real.
There is a curve to it. It's not all one perfect level, and that's why we can't see things from so far away. Like, that's the reason why, I can't just go to the top of a mountain and, see something like up in a mountain. I have a viewpoint, right? I have a high ground. I can see much further through the curvature. But if I'm down on ground level, even though something's not that far away, I probably can't see it because of the curvature of the planet, right? It's like, for example, near a beach near me, I can see islands all the way across the ocean, right? I don't know how far it is in terms of what island I'm seeing, whether it's like a full on, actual country or whether it's just islands in the middle of the ocean and whatnot. But what I can say is there's a limit to how much I can see, even if I pull out a telescope.
Okay.
And that's because of the
So
curvature.
I'm gonna put this image up here on the screen here just to prove a point to you guys who still believe that the Earth is, not flat. All right. So on screen there, you see wind turbines, correct? Those
Um,
wind turbines are in
yeah,
Belgium, right?
right,
They're off the coast of Belgium. As you can see, they're out in the ocean.
uh,
The bottoms of them cannot be seen.
right,
That's the curvature of the Earth.
right,
It's not sea level, it's the curvature of the Earth. Because if you were to sail over there, you would see the bottoms. Well, except for the parts that are in the
right.
ocean. But you would see more of it. Those things aren't hitting the water. Those blades are not hitting the water. They're high up in the air.
Yeah,
That's the curvature of the Earth right there. And I just wanted to display that to you guys.
yeah, exactly. Like if you got to a really high point, you might be able to see the ground. But
So,
from say the same level as where the water is, you're not going to be able to see it because of the curve.
right. That just proves it right there. That one image. Boom, debunked.
Mm.
There's more.
Oh yeah, there's a lot more.
So, some of the earliest accounts we have come from like what it says West Asia on here, but it's Egypt. It's not Asia, it's Africa. But
Yeah,
so uh sometime around the 8th century in BC, um they kind of started thinking more, I guess, like, okay, is the Earth round? Is it flat? And try to determine stuff, right? They're doing scientific discoveries, right?
Right.
Um, but they were trying to, I guess, like judge that based off of the water, right? Determine the
Right.
circumference and the surface of the Earth, right? Um, and there's a lot of controversy even then because it would debunk some gods,
Right.
right? If they were able to prove that the Earth was round, right?
Right.
Back then. Um, so back then, it was mainly the Israelites that like they imagined the Earth to being a disc floating on water, right? That's how they
Right.
viewed it. And it was separate from uh the water was like separate. It separated
Hmm.
like the Earth and the heavens, right? That's what it was. So like beyond the waters was
Right.
heaven, right? And the sky was like a solid dome with the sun and moon plates that kind of
Right.
moved around it,
Yeah.
with stars embedded in there. Um, Later on, from like Greece, a bunch of poets would actually write about, how the Earth might possibly be flat. They never confirmed it, but they said it might be.
Yeah.
Um, but the way that they described it was like the Earth was encircled by a sea, right? And you also got to
Right.
imagine, right, what the Earth looked like to them back then,
Yeah.
right? So here, I'll put this up on the screen as well. As soon as all the little add-on things clear go away. There we go. This is what the Earth kind of looked like to them back in ancient times, right?
Hmm.
So Libya, also Egypt in there with that, right? Was there with the Nile River. You had Asia, the Black Sea,
Yeah.
the Mediterranean, uh, Europe, and the fastest river,
Yeah.
and then ocean surrounding it. This is what ancients believed was the world.
Right.
Obviously, that's not it,
Yeah.
because we also have the Americas that was newly discovered, and a bunch of islands out in the Pacific. So
Hmm.
you know, try and tell me that these islands or anything are fake or something like that. I would 100% disagree with you on there. I've had some flat Earth people tell me that the islands out in the Pacific aren't real, and I'm like, really? Because I've met a Samoan before in my life. I know a
Right.
couple Samoans who come from the island of Samoa in the Pacific, so
Right.
it exists. I'd like you to
Right.
say that to his face and tell him that his home is fake. He's probably
Right.
gonna
Okay.
laugh at
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
One my buddy would probably laugh at you in your face.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's been multiple from like Greek portrayals of the Earth being flat, right? And that's where the predominant sources of what we have today for these people who believe in the flat Earth comes from ancient Greece, right? Between
Hmm.
poetry, philosophers, historians, things like that, right? They
Yeah.
were they were the strongest central power back in those days. Greece was,
Hmm.
and so they have the most influence in that region. And I guess it carried over to the modern age, which is crazy because this came about around the fifth century. I want to say fifth, fourth century, sometime around there,
Yeah.
which is crazy to me because we're in the what 21st century now, and people are still talking
Think
about
so.
this. Like,
Yeah.
we've discovered many more. Stop living in the past. That's come from a historian saying stop living in the past, where all I do is live in the past. But I accept the new
Right.
ideas.
Yeah.
You know, I accept and I embrace new ideas.
Right. And that's
Northern
fair.
Europe also had some stuff in there. East Asia had stuff with it.
Hmm.
Um, just accounts of a flat Earth.
Yeah.
But I want to say it was I can't think of his name. Yep. I knew he was from Greece. I'm trying to look it up. I'm sorry, guys. I'm
Yeah.
ill prepared for this.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, you also
So,
got to understand there's been a lot of information that has been lost as well
right. Okay,
when it
so
comes to a lot of these civilizations.
I was correct in my who I thought it was. I just wanted to confirm, right? So,
Yeah.
it's from the works of Socrates, right? It's a poet, right?
Right.
He was the one from Greece, right? He's not. He may not be the first though, and so that's why a lot of information on it might be a little about saying that he is the first. He isn't the first. It just depends on where you look, stating that the Earth is round,
Right.
right? And his knowledge of that came from curvature of the ocean, right? As he saw ships sail out into the ocean, and he would lose sight of them,
Hmm.
right? Or not ships, but vessels, boats, would sail out
Yeah.
into the Mediterranean Sea, and then he would lose sight of them after a while. In his mind, he's thinking the Earth must be round because they went around it. They went around the water,
Right.
right? Because if they were going straight and the Earth was flat, he would still see them.
Right.
And that's his portrayal of that, right? So he writes
Yeah.
about that multiple times in his poetry.
Hmm.
No, Socrates was a philosopher, but he did do poetry as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
he has multiple accounts of that, right? Um,
Hmm.
of saying that the Earth is round, and uh, from that he was trying to determine what the circumference of the Earth was, which was never really done until way, way, way later. Um, I want to say it was like in the was it 1500s maybe, sometime around then is when they determined
Hmm.
the circumference of the Earth. Um,
Yeah.
and then it was re-advised with Isaac Newton, I believe, when he
Okay.
discovered, like, with his discovery of what gravity is. He didn't discover gravity. Everybody's like, oh, he discovered gravity. No, he didn't discover gravity. Gravity's always been a thing. It's not like people were just floating around before he was born.
I know, right?
You know,
Yeah.
gravity was always a thing. He just discovered the principles of gravity,
Right.
right?
And how
And
to
it,
describe it and the
how to
way it
describe it, and
operates.
he did the mathematics behind it.
Yeah.
Brilliant mind. Um, there were some things off with his formula. Einstein corrected those,
Right.
right? And if you add both their philosophies together, you got literally about 99% of how the universe functions.
Hmm.
But here's the difference. I don't think these people who believe in the flat Earth can understand these mathematic equations. I don't think a lot of them understand it at all. And that way, and then
Yeah.
from there, they're like, oh, it's fake. You know,
Right.
um, I could be wrong on that. I could just be putting words in their mouth, but you know, I don't understand the equations either, but I don't claim to know it's fake because there are equations that have been proven to work. So the one
Right.
thing Einstein's equation could not do was determine what a black hole was.
Yeah.
It wasn't until was it Stephen Hawking? The guy that was in the
Uh.
wheelchair.
Yeah. Stephen Hawking was
So yes,
the brilliant guy
yeah.
in
So
the wheelchair. Yeah.
Stephen Hawking was the one who couldn't get the formula right for the black holes, but he was able to describe them more in depth, and he dedicated a huge portion of his life to studying them.
Right.
So you add the three of them together, and then you got probably like 99.9% of how the universe functions, minus the equations on how a black hole works.
Hmm.
But we understand what it is and what it does. We just don't understand how it does it.
Right. I
So,
mean, it's a very hard thing to research when we can't exactly get close enough and take samples, and
right,
yeah, so it's bound to be a difficult one, you know.
right.
Um,
But that's the one thing because when you plug in any sort of mass, with Einstein's equation, a black hole is supposed to have zero mass. Well, Einstein's equation doesn't work with a zero.
Right.
So it's an anomaly. We don't understand it at all.
Hmm.
Because how can something with no mass absorb all that?
Right.
Because if it has zero mass, it has zero gravity. So
Yeah. So it's kind of contradictory in a sense
look, guys, I'm not a
to
scientist. I'm
our
not a
understanding.
mathematician. I'm not smart, but I do look up this stuff a lot, especially with this
Hmm.
kind of work. And I listen to different podcasts and shows and people who do know what they're talking about with it. And
Yeah.
they break it down to idiot style so I can understand it. And that's kind of what I'm giving you
Right.
guys, is the idiot style of how it works. So if you're an idiot like me, we can discuss that. If you're some
Right.
genius that understands more, explain it to me, but I'm probably not going to understand you.
Right. Yeah. Um. Yeah. So honestly, when it comes to the Earth being flat, right? We've also got to look at the thing for motions, right? Like, you can't just say, oh, well, currents are just formulating in the water and that's why all the water moves. There has to be different levels for something to fluctuate. Like, if you just have water, unless you send a vibration through it, it's going to stay mostly, for the most part, somewhat kind of still. It's when you add something to it that gives it motion, right? And if the Earth starts spinning, it would absolutely devastate our oceans. It'd cause a lot of issues. Um, and if
Okay.
the Earth technically rotates,
Uh,
won't that cause the water to eventually fall
all right.
out of
I'm
the
about to
ocean,
give I'm
essentially?
about to give the toddler version of this.
Right?
All right, here you ready for this?
Right.
Because if anyone's watching, I don't think they're ready for this, right?
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna do flat Earth theory first, right? You
Right.
have a frisbee in your hand and you throw it. What does it do?
It falls.
Well, yeah, but it spins, right?
It
It
spins, yeah.
spins and it flies across, right?
Right.
It doesn't go around anything. I mean, you can curve it, but eventually it's gonna just go straight or land, right?
Right.
It's gonna lose its momentum, right?
Yeah.
Now, okay, say you have something as a center mass of gravity, right? I don't
Mm.
know, like the sun. Crazy concept, right? And you flick a frisbee around it, right? A Earth-sized frisbee around that sun. What is it gonna
Yeah.
do? It's gonna spin at super fast speeds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And go around that circle, right? We would have such a force of wind from that if it kept going around and around and around and around and around like that. We'd have so much. It would be like hurricanes nonstop. Just nonstop hurricane, one after another, one after another, one after another.
Yeah.
Now you have a baseball, right? And you throw it in a curveball, right? Like around the sun, right? You have an Earth-sized baseball and you toss it around the sun. What does it do? Exactly what our Earth does.
Right.
Exactly what our Earth does. It rotates, it spins, and it goes around the sun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that's why we have a day and a night time.
Yeah.
Why we have a hot and a cold season because we also tilt. Our axis
Right.
tilts, right? So in the wintertime, right, if you're in the northern hemisphere like I am or Aaron is, right, and it's in the wintertime, we're tilted away from the sun slightly, and that's why it gets colder. During the summer times, we
Yeah.
tilt back, and our countries will face towards the sun more, so it gets warmer.
Hmm.
and that's how the seasons work, right? Can't do that on a
Yeah.
plate.
Right.
It's just impossible.
Yeah. I mean, take a bowl, fill it to the top, tilt it, see what happens.
That's what I'm saying. It's impossible.
Yeah. And that's why, the Earth can't be flat, honestly. If uh, if the Earth was flat and someone was able to do all this, it would completely change our concept of the way things work, right?
Right. Okay. How about this, right? So this is a little bit more advanced for you guys, right? Our
Hmm.
fighter jets, right? They don't just fly because there's a pilot in the seat, right?
Hmm.
They use GPS guidance to fly, right? Everything with these fighter jets uses satellites and computers, right?
Hmm.
Their flight systems and controls are so advanced that it will find the, the shortest trajectory around the globe to use as little fuel as possible
Hmm.
when going to like a mission or to another country, right? So if I was to take off in a F-16 from I don't know, somewhere here on the East Coast, right? And I was to fly to England with it, right? I'm probably gonna need to in-flight refuel, but my fighter jet's gonna tell me, hey, this is the shortest route, fly at this trajectory,
Right.
right? And it does that all within the hub of their goggles, their mask, wherever it is, the helmet, right? It tells us
Yeah.
all this information, right? But if it was a flat Earth, you know, you could theoretically get to England a lot faster than what we do, right? Why do we go? And if you are in a plane, right? So like,
Yeah.
I think they're what the 737s that have the little screens on the seats. Some do, some don't. I don't know. Anyways, the one I had
Mm.
when I went to Korea had a screen on the seat, right? And
Yeah.
it shows you the trajectory of the path that you're gonna fly. And it's crazy because I took off from was it San Francisco in California, right? The
Hmm.
trajectory went up towards Washington, over by Alaska, came down by Russia, down by Japan, and then into Korea,
Yeah.
right? Why would I need to go all the way north just to go back down? That wastes so much fuel. If it's a flat Earth, I can go straight.
Right.
Korea and San Francisco, like Seoul and San Francisco, they're almost on the same parallel of lines.
Hmm.
If you were to draw a straight line across, you're pretty darn close.
Yeah.
In fact, hold on. Right before the break here, I'm gonna do something here. Oh, actually, I'm not gonna have time. Okay, so from San Francisco, there we go. Let me see where San Francisco's at. I'm gonna kind of just trace it over on my screen here. Okay, so from San Francisco, you're yeah, right there at the DMZ essentially. It's nearly the same parallel,
Yeah.
but because of the trajectory, we went all the way up and then back down, right? Because that was the shortest flight path.
Right.
It was shorter doing that than it is to fly straight.
Hmm.
So it took me like I think it was like 13 hours to get across the Pacific. Whereas
Yeah.
if you were to draw a straight line, I'd say probably take like maybe 20 plus hours to get across.
Hmm.
So I just I don't know how any more clear I can be about the flat Earth not existing.
Yeah. That's it.
And I wish we had that guest that was able to come on because maybe he could share some points that maybe we're not seeing on it.
I know,
Or
yeah.
maybe we could share some points. As
That's
long as he's
it.
not going to be yelling and screaming at us, I'm good with him on that.
Yeah, yeah. That's it. I mean, he properly researched into it and he has all his points and whatnot. But yeah, just sadly I wasn't able to get a hold of him. So we can't get him on the show, which is really unfortunate because I was really looking forward to that,
I was as well.
for sure.
But
Um,
I think we can go take a break. Oh, before we leave though, keep in mind that we have shortened our shows as well. So instead of 9 o'clock
yeah,
ending or whatever it is in the UK time there for that, we will be ending the show at 8 here. So from 7 to 8 will be our random hour.
right.
So we have our 2 hour segments and a random hour for you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll catch you guys at the top of the hour.
Yep, sounds good.
We are back.
Hello, everyone. So we are back indeed. Tonight's subject is the flat Earth. I'm your host tonight, Aaron, and our co-host is Josh. Please remember we go live every other Tuesday and Wednesday at 5 p.m. US time and 10 p.m. UK time. All podcasts will eventually be uploaded to YouTube shortly after, so don't forget to follow us on Twitch and subscribe on YouTube. I'd like to also remind everyone we do have a Discord where you can join and discuss topics with us, share your experiences, and even participate in our discussions. It's relatively new, still working out the quirks. Hopefully, with enough time, it'll be a wonderful place to be with all of you in there with us. And with that said, let's continue our discussion. So, going back to the point of, flying throughout the sky and whatnot. Some people argue that planes don't actually fly. Apparently, right? They don't fly. They travel level, um, supposedly, and apparently, so that doesn't make sense to me.
I can
I don't,
disprove
I
that in
don't get
a
the argument.
heartbeat. Easily disprove that theory.
Yeah,
So if you want to know if planes fly or not, I used to jump out of them when I was at an airborne unit.
yeah, but supposedly they don't actually fly. They just go up to a certain point. They don't go up and down. They just kind of fly level because the Earth's so flat. They don't have to make any change to the trajectory or anything like that. And they just get to pretty much go in a straight line to wherever it
Yeah,
is they are going to.
I 100% disagree with that one.
I know, right?
So I've been in the planes when they take off. I've stood in the doorway as we fly, and I can tell you firsthand that the plane goes up and down
Right.
as it flies because it hits turbulence, right? I'd be standing there in
Mm.
the doorway, my hands on my reserve parachute, and we'd hit bumps in the air. You could look, and I could look
Mm.
out the door and see the ground way below me.
Mm.
So we're hitting little pockets of air where we just, we bounce over them essentially. That's what it is. So it's turbulence. I mean, I don't really know the science
Yeah.
behind turbulence. See if I can't get a definition of it. A violent or unsteady movement of air or water or some other fluid. So yeah, basically for planes it's air. Like it's a pocket of air that's moving faster than the rest and you bump over it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I would be standing on the plane and boom, you'd hit some turbulence and you try not to fall out the plane. like
Right.
um and then when they yelled go, we jumped out and I would slowly fall back to the earth with my parachute.
Right.
And then I could honestly, like, while I was falling from the sky with my parachute open, I could see the plane fly off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's planes fly. Even
Yeah.
the Air Force ones that are held together with Gorilla Glue and duct tape.
Right. Yeah. Because AK will argue that apparently the reason why we supposedly can't, get over this ice wall is because governments and things don't allow you to. You're not allowed to fly over certain parts of the Antarctic because, and also you can't get high enough to get over this supposed ice wall that's keeping uh, also, I mean, that's a fall off the face
So,
of the earth, essentially.
the reason why you're not allowed to fly over the Antarctic, right? It's the most uncivilized. Now, I'm not talking about like barbaric people. I'm talking about like as far as like
Right,
there's no
yeah,
civilizations out there. It's the most uncivilized area on our planet, right? We have next to
right,
no settlements there, almost no ways to refuel going over that chunk of ice that is a landmass, right? Uh,
right,
so if you were to try and fly over there, you would need to have enough fuel. It's not that they don't say don't fly over it. You can
yeah,
if you want to, but I mean, let's say you're taking off from I don't know, Argentina and you want to fly over the Antarctic to get to Australia, you better have enough fuel. It's
Right.
faster going across the Pacific, maybe landing on an island like New Zealand or some other islands that have airfields and fuel, refueling and then taking off again, than risking going over that way. It's all about the fuel of the plane. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
So, I mean, if you have your own fuel tanks and you strap them inside your aircraft and you want to land on the chunk of ice and refuel and take off again, go for it.
Right.
Who's going to stop you? Nobody. There ain't nobody out there to stop you.
Right.
You know, they're not going to send military fighter jets after you. Why? Because they don't have fuel. They don't have enough fuel for that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like some special giant wall keeping us from falling off the face of the earth just sounds ridiculous to
It
me.
is.
It's,
It is ridiculous.
right.
If you
Why
went
hasn't
from
anybody scaled it then?
if you went from Argentina into Antarctica and you walked to the South Pole and you were in Australia and you walked to the South Pole from opposite sides, you would meet at the South Pole.
Right. And on top of that, people have climbed Mount Everest. How tall is Mount Everest, right? If there's some giant ice sheet wall that's preventing us from falling off the earth, why hasn't nobody scaled it? If somebody can scale Mount Everest, obviously I know it's much colder in the Arctic. But then again, at the same time, that means the ice is going to be a lot more solid and climbable. People use ice picks and climb ice surfaces all the time in snowy places. Why haven't done it with this wall?
I'm telling you right now, all it would take is for a couple KC-130s or KC-10s to go down there. Those are refueling aircraft, in case you don't know.
Yeah.
Send us a couple of them to Antarctica, and then go get like a I don't know, an F-35, and have it fly with the KC-10s and refuel and keep flying up, 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 up and away, until you can get
Yeah.
over this ice wall. You know,
Right.
I mean,
You
the
see,
F-35 can fly in low Earth orbit.
right.
Theoretically, it can go out into space. I mean, it can't because the pilot would lose oxygen, but theoretically, it has the fuel and the burners to go to space.
Right.
So if you had an F-35, you could fly over this ice wall. Theoretical ice wall. So,
Right.
and you don't think we would have been checking this out by now?
Exactly. I mean, there's lots of people out there with tons of disposable money. I mean, for crying out loud, you got Jeff Bezos, love him or hate him, making rockets and stuff, flying in a rocket, going to space.
Yeah.
There, while not everybody is as wealthy as him, there are plenty of wealthy people on this planet. Why not? Why aren't any of them doing their own experiment and trying to
My,
decide
my, my
whether
thing is,
the Earth is flat or not?
they say the
Because it's
government's
not.
hiding these secrets from us, buddy. I like people. I worked in the government. I was in the military. All right. I've been around the world. There's no mysterious ice wall. Again, I've been over the
Right.
Atlantic. I've been over the Pacific, and everything in between.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. There's a bunch of
And if
ocean.
this
There's a
if
bunch of
this
ocean.
ice wall was so tall, we'd be able to see it.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. There's a bunch of ocean. Like you look at the map and you think, oh wow, it's a big ocean, but no, it's a big ocean. I mean, it's
Oh
way
yeah.
bigger than you think it is. Looking at a map.
Yeah, maps don't really do justice to the actual size. They
Yeah,
really
yeah.
don't.
Like the Pacific is probably like 5 times the size of what you see on a map. It's massive.
Yeah.
It's just an absolute unit of an ocean.
But yeah, I don't see any of these wealthy people who believe so much in this flat earth trying to prove this thing, and they'll always have the argument,
Yeah.
oh, the government's stopping you, they won't let you do it.
I'll tell you what though, there's nothing more terrifying than flying across the ocean.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you that now because, we're trying to plan your trip out here to the States.
Yeah.
So enjoy that flight.
I don't mind. I don't mind it so
Look, the
much.
thing that sketches me out about flying over the ocean
Yeah.
is the fact that there's nowhere to land. You go down, you're in the
Right,
water,
right. That's the problem. Yeah.
and it's
See,
freezing ice cold water.
oh yeah.
That
I
terrifies
mean,
me.
yeah, it is terrifying. Because if that does happen, screwed.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the chances of you surviving the crash, fair enough. But it's when you are stuck in the
Yeah.
ocean.
I wouldn't want to survive that
You,
crash.
it's when you're stuck in the ocean. You got to deal with giant waves. If the weather decides to take a turn on you, good luck.
I mean, the two biggest ways I think you would die from that is either number one being hypothermia.
Yeah.
I think number one's being hypothermia. Number two is, drowning, obviously. But then number three is if there's anything in the waters with you.
Right.
And that's an if. I mean, it's not like the ocean's, I mean, it has a lot of sea life, but it's not always right there where you're at. And a big explosion is
Yeah.
going to scare a lot of stuff away.
Right.
So, but, um, but yeah, I mean, that's what's terrifying. I would want to die in the plane crash, honestly. I hope to God if that ever
Yeah.
happened, I would die.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to live from the aftermath of that.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of want to live. I kind of don't want
Oh,
to
I
die.
mean, yeah, I'm saying I want to live, but like if that was
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
happen, like I'd rather
Yeah.
have a fast, quick death from the fiery explosion of a plane than drowning or freezing to death.
Right.
So,
I mean, I know many people are like, oh, I'll be fine. I'm a great swimmer. You're not built that way. I'm sorry. You're not built to swim across the ocean.
yeah, no.
You're not, you're not built that way. Humans are good at conserving stamina
I think
through sweat and
people have
stuff like that,
swam
but
across
not for that length.
channels and the seas and stuff, but never the oceans.
Right.
No one's ever survived a
Because
trip across the ocean like
you've
that.
got to deal with currents. Obviously, there's wildlife that you may run into. Um,
Yep.
there's nowhere for you to take a break, right? And your muscles will eventually cramp up.
Yep.
Your legs cannot be moving permanently for days on end. It's not going to happen. You will cramp.
Yep. We're not amphibious creatures.
Right. And, your best bet is finding something that can sufficiently float to give you a bit of a
Well,
chance. But even then, you can only be in the water for so long. You know when you go in the bath, for example, right? You get a bath,
so
and you're in that water for a certain amount of time. Your skin starts to go all wrinkly and whatnot. Well, if you're in the ocean for too long and you're completely in water for far too long, eventually your skin will start
so
to get waterlogged, and it will start to break off,
going
and
back
that will
to
attract
this
sharks, and you will start to bleed.
going back to this flat Earth thing, right? So
Yeah.
this is when people started believing that the Earth was round and not flat, right?
Right.
So if you know from school, right, how do you find the circumference of an object, right, of a circle,
Mm-hmm.
right? You use the Pythagorean theorem, right?
Yeah.
Well, Pythagoras was the Greek individual that discovered this, right, and came up with this the reference, right, pi square and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the 6th century BC, and Parmenides in the 5th century BC stated that the Earth is spherical, right, and that this view
Right.
spread rapidly in the Greek world. Around 330 BC, Aristotle maintained the basis of physical theory and observational evidence that the Earth was spherical, and
Yeah.
reported and estimated of its circumference. Right.
Yeah.
The Earth's circumference was determined around 240 BC by Eratosthenes. Eratosthenes. God, I cannot pronounce these names. I'm butchering Greek now.
I don't know.
Eratosthenes.
Aristophanes. No.
Aristophanes. Yeah, yeah, there you go. That guy. By the second
Right.
century
Okay. Yeah.
AD, um, uh, they discovered his maps and a globe and developed a system of a latitude, longitude, and climbs. Right.
Hmm.
So I mean, and it just continues on into like the 11th century, where all of those works were translated into Arabic translations as well. Right.
Yeah.
By the time of the first century BC, um, uh, Lucretius, it says, opposed the concept of a spherical Earth because he considered that an infinite universe has no center towards which heavy bodies would tend. Thus, he thought the idea of animals walking around topsy-turvy under the Earth was absurd.
Yeah.
Um, which we know that's not true, but not like people underneath the Earth are walking upside down. You know,
Hmm.
if the Earth was flat, Australia would be underneath us, and you wouldn't be able to travel there. Which you can book a trip any day you want if you have the money.
Right. In the
You,
land down under.
yeah, and you don't just go through the Earth to get there.
Right. I
Um,
mean, didn't they want to like drill a hole? They wanted to drill a massive hole. Not Australia specifically. They wanted to drill a massive hole throughout the center of the earth or something like that to get to the other side. And they couldn't dig deep enough, but at the same time,
oh, the
you
Russian
know,
experiment there.
yeah, the end of the experiment when they went to like basically be able to make it so you could like dig from the US to China or something like that,
Yeah,
some
yeah,
crazy
yeah.
or
They were
whatever it
trying to dig
were.
straight through the center of Earth to hit the, trying to get to the United States faster.
Yeah,
They're like, screw this communism thing. We're going to the land of democracy. Dig a hole.
yeah. The day they became dwarves. But in all seriousness, the the problem is with digging a hole to the other side of the earth. Even if you could get through it, it would be massive.
Oh yeah. I mean, so it got
Uh,
like super cold as they were digging down. Then it got super hot, and it's because they were getting closer to the
yeah,
core.
yeah,
I mean, they were still nowhere near the core, according to some estimates, but it's still too hot for them to keep digging.
yeah,
And where we do have technology that can be heat treated, and we can dig even deeper now, they just haven't. Because why? When you asked them why they dug that hole, they were like, "Eh, because we wanted to dig a hole."
uh,
There was no real reason behind it other than to see could we do this. It was
yeah,
just Russia and the United States during that time were just trying to do anything and everything to beat each other, and the Russians are like, "Oh, we'll dig the world's largest hole, the deepest hole."
yeah. I mean,
I use it as a
honestly,
metaphor
like,
for their former economy back then.
how would it even work? Let's say we dug a hole, right? From, say, the US to the UK. Let's say we somehow did this, right? We dug this giant hole, went through the planet. How would the gravity work? Because that's actually a very good conversation, really, because essentially I'm going from one place to the other instead of through the surface. I'm going underground. At some point, the gravity is going to shift to a degree, right?
Mm. So
By that logic.
there's two different arguments that I have seen about that, right? Because that is a topic of debate in science, right? Because we don't know.
Yeah,
We don't know, right? We do know that we have a molten, lead core, right?
yeah,
At least that's what they predict based off of scans, right?
right.
Again, predictions, not conclusive evidence, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so they say we have a molten lead core, meaning it's metal, but it's liquid, right?
right.
And this core, some people theorize that if you were to actually get near it, you would be weightless. There would be no gravity. That's one theory. The other
Right.
theory is that you would get immediately sucked into it
You
and
just get sucked
get
in,
crushed.
just thrown out the other side.
No, like you just get sucked in and crushed.
Right.
You'd be pulverized just under the
Yeah.
sheer gravitational pull of that core.
Kind of like the pressure in the oceans, but obviously
Right.
gravity doing its work instead.
Right, right, right. So that's the other theory to it.
Yeah,
But those are the only two real theories that are out there as to what would happen.
yeah. I mean,
So,
if the Earth was flat, why would we need to dig a hole?
I mean, the Russians did it just because,
I know, but I'm just
you
saying.
know, screw America, and that's why they did it.
Oh yeah, I'm saying why would we need to if the Earth was so flat?
I mean,
You
we
know,
wouldn't. Except that,
it'd
if
then
we decided
be
one day we just
pointless.
wanted to be a cheese planet.
Jeez, full of holes. Yeah. Um. So I think
Yeah. I'll also put it this way too, right?
different
So,
stars. Oh god.
oh,
Oh,
sorry. Yeah, if it wasn't a sphere, right?
right.
Missiles wouldn't work the way that they do, right?
Right.
Right. If you wanted to go off that plane theory of we just kind of go in a straight line, right?
Yeah.
Missiles would just do the same thing, wouldn't they not? But if you were to
Right.
fire a missile, right? The way it flies, it arcs, right? It doesn't go straight up, it doesn't go straight across, it goes up and over. It has like a
Right.
curvature to it, right? And it
Yeah.
doesn't just do that because it wants to, or it's programmed to do that. No, we don't program it to do that. We put in the target what we want to hit, and it does everything automatically,
Right.
right? And it goes over and hits wherever it needs to hit, or goes to where it needs to go, right?
Yeah.
Even NASA space shuttles, when they take off, they curve. They don't go straight up. They curve.
Yeah.
Um, and I can attest to the missiles because I've actually fired a rocket launcher before. I fired an AT-4 rocket, and
Right.
when you fire that thing, it doesn't just go in a straight line. It curves, right?
Right.
It goes out, up, and then down.
Yeah.
So when you aim straight ahead. So if I have my reticle on the tank and I line it up and I shoot, it's gonna go out the tube. It's gonna go up a little bit, and it's gonna go flying at the tank and come back down and hit the tank.
Right.
So that right there showing that there's curvature. It needs curvature in order to hit.
Yeah.
So
Otherwise, what's the point? Why does it just go straight into the tank?
right,
Because it has to
or
calculate.
or I haven't actually fired one, but I've seen the Javelin missiles fire. Again, when you shoot them, those things have rockets on the end of them though, instead of just like a
Yeah.
projectile coming out. Those things go straight up in the air and they come down on top of the vehicle that they're trying to hit.
Right.
But those work more like an actual missile than a rocket does.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, there's so many things I could use to debunk a flat Earth theory.
Right. Yeah. I mean, another thing as well is stars. So, if the Earth was so flat, considering how far away these stars are, and people can see them, right? You can't just say, "Oh, it's the human eye can't see far enough." That's not it, right? Well, different stars are visible from different parts of the Earth. So there's obviously a division when it comes to like the northern and the southern hemispheres of the Earth, right? So if you're say above Earth's northern side, you can see Polaris. But
Mm-hmm.
as you travel south towards the equator, Polaris sinks lower and lower toward the horizon, and eventually it'll then be completely blocked from out of view by the curve of the Earth in that direction. So then if you travel south, new constellations will basically be spotted that be completely obscured by the Earth's curve if you stayed up north. So again, if the Earth is flat, why are these stars changing based on how far I travel? Now you can't just say, "Oh, it's time of day," it's because the Earth's spinning. No, that's not it. Because it's got nothing to do with the time of day and whether I can see these things. Because it's got to be nighttime, right?
Right, right.
So
I noticed this too. A lot of these people who believe in the flat Earth tend to be from these countries where they don't, like they're privileged countries for one. You know,
right,
they um they don't have, yeah, like they have the ability to just speak openly about it and call it whatever and say a bunch of BS.
right.
But a lot of these people don't travel either. They've never been outside of their country. So they
Oh yeah,
don't they how would they know anything? How would they know any better?
because they look at the internet and go, "Oh, that's fact," and I know all this stuff now.
Right. Where if they talk to someone like me or somebody else who's been around the world to multiple different countries, to multiple different areas around the world, the only places in the world I haven't been are south of the equator. I've never been south of
Yeah.
the equator, and I'd love to go there one day, and I will. I'll go to Australia or
Mm,
Brazil or even further south.
yeah.
I want to go to these places and visit them and see them for myself. These are
Yeah.
amazing countries, and I would love to visit.
Oh yeah.
Um, but you know, I've seen nearly everything in the northern equator, minus the Middle East. I've never gone there. Even in my time in the
Yeah.
military, I got fortunate enough not to have to go. Um,
Right.
but I mean, it'd be no different looking at the night sky, really. You know.
Right.
Um, but I've been around the world, and like I said, I've seen the curvature of the Earth from the airplane I've been on. You could see how the
Yeah.
Earth is round when you're that high up in the air.
Yeah.
Maybe these people who are flat earthers go take a trip in a plane.
Right.
Literally go take a trip in a plane, and then after you're done with your flight, you tell me if the Earth is still round.
Yeah. And
And
don't
I'm
come
not
and
I'm, I'm
say
not
to me,
talking
"Oh,
about,
it's because the windows are
yeah,
curved and it makes it look
yeah.
that way." No.
No, you would be able to tell right away. And I'm not talking about like a flight from your town to your next local town. No, I'm talking like go on a far distant trip, like a cross country trip. You know, and then tell me that the when you do that, tell me again if the Earth is flat. Look out your window and see.
Right.
I think you're gonna have a different preference, a different change of mind, and realize, oh wow, I was wrong.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying the Earth is round. I'm saying the Earth is more of an oval. It's an oval spherical object.
Right. I mean, on top of that, we could also eclipses are a thing. Like during a lunar
Yep.
eclipse, when the Earth passes between the sun and the moon, it allows the Earth to basically cast a shadow on the moon, and it is pretty much always round. It's not flat. It's not a disc. It's always sort of like a circular-esque shape, right?
Right, right.
So the Earth can't be flat. Because no matter where you are on the planet, no matter the time of the eclipse, it is always like that. The only way to cast a circular shadow is if the thing casting the shadow, in this case, is actually a globe. It's geometry, right?
Hmm.
And then obviously, like I said earlier, there's those big towers that people go up into the upper parts of the atmosphere and they do the free falling stuff from super up high with the parachutes and whatnot. And they take photos from up there. We got countless photos of the Earth taken by orbiting satellites, eyewitness from astronauts, hailing from dozens of different countries, space programs, private organizations. Like honestly, you can't say the Earth is flat when you've got all this contrary, information out there and proof, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, planets are round. Why is ours not? I mean, GPS aren't perfect. People use GPS. They are not perfect. And a lot of times they can get mixed up by a lot of things, right? But we do tend to use these as a measuring tool to help us figure out where we're going. We use coordinates as well, especially in a lot of our technology, especially if you're military based, There'll be a lot of coordinates which are put in, and that is not a straight line measured. They don't go, okay, he's 5 feet away. It'll go, I mean, that's terrible example, 5 feet away. He's, 100 miles away. It will try and calculate the curvature into that equation because it has to.
Okay, so just doing some research here, right? From ground to space from distance, right? So from Earth's surface, right? Since it's about 62 miles, right? From the surface to space, right? Planes fly at about 33,000 to 42,000 feet, but most of the time it's about 38,000 feet, right? For cruising
Yeah.
altitudes, right? That's only 7.19 miles high. And from that distance, you can already see the curvature of the Earth,
Yeah.
right? Just going off that. So let's see this here. Okay, so even F-35, right? I know it can go higher than this, but it says 50,000 feet is the highest recording. That's 9.4 miles, right?
Yeah.
So 314,688 feet is the highest an aircraft has ever flown, and that was in an X-15.
Right.
Next closest was in a MiG E-22 or 266M. So a plane went to the highest height of 59.6 miles. So literally
Yeah.
right below space. So he was in the mesosphere, is what it is called, right?
Right. Mesosphere.
Mesosphere, right? Whereas planes
Right.
typically travel in the stratosphere,
Right.
right? So we have the troposphere, which is about 7 miles high. We have the stratosphere, which is where most commercial airliners will fly, right? We have the
Yeah.
mesosphere, where meteors will typically go through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this guy flew up that high. Then we have the Kármán line, which is at the 62-mile mark, where we consider space, right? And then
Right.
anything higher than that is where we keep our we usually keep our satellites in the exosphere, which is about 800 miles high. Anywhere
Yeah.
from like 440 miles to 6,200 miles high. We keep them pretty
Yeah.
far up there. I mean, Mount Everest alone is already breaking that first little barrier, nearly.
Right. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the Earth is more of a oblate spheroid, honestly, rather than actually a
Yeah,
full-on circle or oval, really.
yeah.
And that's due to The rotation, obviously, we're being pulled. It's slightly squashed at the poles, swollen at the equator, and the main thing is when it comes to a lot of these flat Earth arguments. And no disrespect to anybody, but none of this is really about the actual evidence or the scientific discoveries, right? Because most people who argue that the Earth is flat aren't coming to a conclusion from the same type of observations, evidence, scientific discoveries, and whatnot. Instead, the reason why they bring it up is because most of the time they're being informed that they're being lied to. The scientists want you to believe the Earth is round, and honestly, it's never
So,
been about the Earth being flat to them. It's more about the lie that supposedly they're being told, because obviously, supposedly, it's the elites and the governments
so
and, NASA. Apparently, NASA's made the fake Earth image that we see. It's all about the lie
so
rather than
yeah,
actually
I'm gonna read
proving
this
that the
little
Earth is flat.
tidbit and then give me your thoughts on it, right? In the modern
Okay.
era, the pseudoscientific belief in the flat Earth originated with the English writer Samuel Robotham,
Hmm.
with the 1849 pamphlet Zedetek Astronomy. Lady Elizabeth
Hmm.
Blount established the Universal Zetetic Society in 1893, which published journals. In 1956, Samuel Shelton set up the International Flat Earth Research Society, better known as the Flat Earth Society, from Dover, England, as a direct
Right.
descendant of the Universal Zetetic Society. In the internet area, in the era, the availability of communication technology and social media like YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or X now, have made it easy for individuals, famous or not, to spread disinformation and attract others to erroneous ideas, including that of the flat earth. Modern believers in the flat earth face an overwhelming publicly accessible evidence of Earth's sphericity. They also need to explain why governments, media outlets, schools, scientists, surveyors, airlines, and other organizations accept that the world is spherical. To satisfy these tensions
Right.
and maintain their beliefs, they generally embrace some form of conspiracy theory. In addition, believers tend to not trust observations that they have not made themselves and often distrust, disagree, or accuse each other of being in league with conspiracies. I think that sums it up.
Right. Yeah.
I think it sums it up perfectly to a T.
Yeah. Pretty
Basically,
much.
so what's your thoughts on that?
I agree. I feel like that does definitely sum it up. I mean, honestly, considering like even the ancients, like let's just go back to like the ancient times and whatnot. Rome and everybody. How are they viewing the Earth? Right, they're looking at the horizon, and to them, the Earth looks mostly flat. They didn't have scientists with satellites in the sky and all this crazy stuff, and even they believed the Earth was round.
Right.
Yeah,
I
in
mean,
today's modern age, despite all the proof, all the evidence, all the ways to prove the curvature, why is it now people are suddenly screaming about the Earth being flat?
right. I
So
mean, here,
much
I'm gonna
so.
put this on screen here. Take a look at
And
this. This is
honestly,
the
people get influenced by
this is the
people online who are famous.
this is the Flat Earth
A
Society's
lot.
logo, right? Do you notice
Right.
anything wrong with this picture? Because I noticed some things wrong with this picture, other than it being flat.
Yeah, there's a big circular
No, it's not even
place.
Earth.
It's not, no.
I mean, look, you got Africa right there at the center, down there at the bottom. You can tell it's that. You
Right,
can see
yeah,
Madagascar, right?
yeah,
Where's Europe? Europe's
right,
not even on there. Europe's got like some weird land shape right above it. That's
right,
Asia that's like on the top of Africa.
right.
I don't know what is that on top of Asia over to the right.
No idea.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's America that's above Asia or to the left of Asia.
Right.
And then you got South America down at the bottom. I mean, look, even if this was a real model for the Earth, it's out of order. That's not how the stuff is
Right.
shaped.
Exactly.
I mean, based off this model, you could literally just swim across Asia to America.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that one.
Maybe that's Australia over there. That's weird because Australia's south of
Right.
Asia, not north.
Yeah, I don't even see the UK on there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, their model of the Earth is just completely wrong.
Right.
So I
Now,
mean,
if you want a proper flat Earth, give me a flat Earth map with all the places of the Earth on this supposed flat Earth map.
you wouldn't be able to fit it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people hear this information like, oh my god, really? And they start looking into it. And the problem is they're not going into it from, say, looking at both sides. What they'll do is they'll watch somebody and they'll listen to them. Maybe they're a podcaster, maybe they're just discussing it. And they'll sit there and they'll listen to these people, right? And they'll try and come from a point where they try and make as much sense as possible, the people that are actually talking about it. And they won't try and research themselves. They'll just take in all the information and say, yeah, that's right. And then they'll go and tell other people, oh, yeah, the Earth's definitely flat. And they haven't done any research themselves. They've just been going to sources which tell them the Earth is flat and reading their side of things and then coming at people and going, oh, the Earth is definitely flat. Rather than looking at the people who are saying the Earth is not flat and doing the research on that side of things and then coming to a conclusion.
So right
They hear
here,
one side of the pie.
the
And we,
globe has
we, we
been the globe has been understood for thousands of years. This was one of the first cosmic facts to be worked out correctly by ancient people because evidence of a spherical Earth is visible to the naked eye. Sailors noticed that the sails of approaching ships appeared before the hulls, and the ships became visible. Because the
right.
surface of the Earth is slightly curved, like the surface of an enormous ball. By the time
Yeah.
of the philosopher Socrates and his students Plato, many Greeks understood the Earth could only be a sphere. Later, Plato's students Aristotle offered further evidence to support his own conclusions that Earth must be spherical.
Right.
Then there is the evidence of the lunar eclipse, like you were talking before, and the moon passes
Mm-hmm.
through the shadows of the Earth, and that the shadow is always the circular shadow of the sphere. An ancient scholar named, yeah, you said the name before. I can't pronounce his name.
Aristophanes.
Yes, or Aristotle. Yeah, yeah. The head of the
I,
famous
I,
library of
that's just a
Alexandria
guess, by the way. I don't know if
in
that's
Egypt
definitely correct, but
even correctly approximated the circumference of Earth using experimental measurements of shadows in two cities and some rudimentary geography. I mean, it's so simple. And that little
right.
tidbit I read comes from spaceandbeyondbox.com.
Yeah.
These guys, I've used their sources before on the show. They are
Right.
they are very accredited. So,
Yeah. I
um,
mean, we see this trend time and time again. You know, whether it's YouTube and other forms of social media, though, you get people that listen to something and they won't look into it and they'll immediately jump on it.
yeah,
And I feel like that's a lot that has happened to the flat Earth theory. Like half of the time an accusation will go up and people immediately jump up. They're the bad guy. They're the bad guy. They're the bad guy. They don't do any research and they'll paint somebody as a bad guy, or woman. You know, and then it turns out, weeks later they might be wrong. Papers come out that it was not true and whatnot. But people don't do their own research. They just hear what they're told and just go, "That's fact. That's true. Must be." Jump on it, and I feel like that's what a lot happens to flat Earth. Is they'll listen to these flat earthers going about what they're trying to say, and they'll try and convince you otherwise. And then they'll just go, "Oh well, I've heard this and whatnot," and they'll go and repeat it
yeah.
instead of sitting there and going, "Right, so is that true actually?" And going, "Yeah, let's research this. Is that actually true?" What's the evidence that it's not true? And getting the whole piece of the puzzle, they just take one slice of the pie and just go, "Yep, that's it." And they let it consume them to a point where they start arguing with people. Um, and honestly, I just don't think it's that important whether the Earth is flat, round, and whatnot. Unless I need that information because I'm planning on making a spacecraft, or you know, I'm planning on making some kind of weapon system or GPS system or whatever purpose it would be for. It's not that important. Even if we were lied to, which I don't think we are, it doesn't matter as much as people make it out to. Like it's a massive deal. But from my conclusion that I've tried to hear flat earthers talk, tried to listen to their point of view, and I'm still in the firm belief that it's not flat. It's
So
not.
here's my proposed question to people who believe in the flat Earth, right? What's their take on global warming?
Right.
Because if this whole global warming, I'm gonna say myth, because that's what I believe, is a myth, right? But if it is true, right, then wouldn't that be melting the ice walls? And wouldn't we all just be
Oh,
flooded?
right, yeah. I mean, if the Earth's flat and those ash walls go, we can fall off the edge of the Earth. Oh no, we're all doomed.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah,
And okay, so hold on here. See if I can't enlarge this picture here. I'm gonna have to save it and then put it on here.
yeah,
I'm just trying to open this for you guys here. Okay, so I'm gonna put this up on the screen here. So, all right, on screen, this is a flat Earth model, right, of what they believe.
right.
All right, the white around the thing, that's the ice wall, right?
Yeah,
So, I know you can't see my cursor, right? But I'm pointing, my cursor's over here on the east coast of the United States. You can clearly see it on the map, right?
right.
Here, you know what? Let me see if I can't, get my cursor back on here. Not that. I'm trying to get my cursor back on for you guys. One moment here. Okay. Cursor capture. There we go. So right here, right around here is where I live, right, in the United States,
Yeah.
East Coast, right. If I was to go to
Mm-hmm.
Korea, which is, I think that's supposed to be Japan, but that should be down here. That looks like
Right.
Korea, which
Mm-hmm.
should be down here because that's the Gobi Desert. That's China, so all this should be lower, right? Korea should be like right here. Yeah, it should be more like right here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's correct. All right, we'll just say it's correct for the sake of whatever. But Japan should definitely be lower.
Mm-hmm.
More like right here. But I would be flying direct this way, right? That's the
Right.
most direct flight if it's flat, right?
Right.
So why did I fly all the way over here to the west coast, right? And then supposedly, if that's the case, I could have just flown straight this way and gone over North Korea. But no,
Right.
we went up like this, came around, right, and then we flew across, right, because that's where Russia is. Russia would have been over here on the other side,
Yeah.
all right, and we flew along this area of Russia, came down towards Japan, and then flew into North or South Korea because we couldn't go through North Korean airspace. But if that's the
Right.
case, we could have just flown right across Russia because it's an international flight, you're allowed to, and gone around past through China into South Korea.
Right.
That would have been a much more direct flight.
Oh yeah, saved a ton of fuel, saved the company that relies on money and saving as much money as they can and making as much profit as possible. It would have saved them a ton of it.
But I mean,
So
even
why
look
would
at
they
this
not do that?
model. Look at this model. You notice anything? Because I noticed something about it. If it's a flat Earth, why is these continents curved?
Right.
Look, it's curving.
Yeah.
Right here, it's curving. Right here, it's curving. It's not flat.
No.
You can see it's curved because it's like it's extended and stretched. Same thing
Right.
right here. It's curved. It's curved on the outsides, like all around these outsides. It curves down. It's flat right in here, but then it
Hmm.
curves out.
Yeah.
Like, why is New Zealand so far away from Australia? It's not that far away.
Oh, definitely not. See, even the model of these
Bunch of
flat
islands
earthers
are also
base
like I said before,
Earth
a bunch
off
of the
incorrect.
islands in the Pacific are missing, as if like they don't exist.
Mm.
It's just it's
Right.
insane to me. These people don't believe in these islands. They don't believe the Earth is round, but on their models, all the continents curve.
Right.
So it just makes zero sense to me.
Oh yeah. It really is ridiculous.
But oh, we are at break time.
We are at break time. I
All
was
right.
about to
Well,
say,
when we come back, we'll go with final thoughts, and then we'll go into our random bit.
right. Uh,
All right. See you guys then.
Pardon me. What are you doing? I've got a podcast. Podcast with Josh. I'm busy. Sorry. Yeah, you there, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we are live and we are back.
Okay. I apologize. We're a little bit messed up
I
because
apologize because I had my mic muted. We were all just screwed up for this final hour. All right, so what's your final thoughts on
yeah.
this?
So my final thoughts on the flat Earth theory: incorrect. No context. Nothing else needs to be said. Incorrect.
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you on that one.
Like we got so much stuff to disprove the Earth being flat, and there's nothing to prove the Earth is flat that completely erases the curvature of the Earth. Like even on the imaginary map, as we've seen, if you're in the last segment, things look curved, even on their supposed flat Earth,
Right.
and that's the problem, right?
But yeah,
It's
I
never
agree, man.
been
It's there's just too much to debunk at this point.
right. And there's
But
never been arguments for the sake of scientific debunking. It's always, oh, we're being lied to. We're being lied to. The government's lying to you. NASA's lying to you. It's never been about proving the Earth is flat. It's always been about sticking the middle finger up to those in power, the elites, the government,
my
NASA and all that, and saying, "Oh, you're
yeah,
lying to
my
us."
my
It's
bit
always
of
been
final
about that.
thoughts is I had a friend, right? He joined the army as a I don't know what it was exactly. He works with radios. He was a 25 Bravo. For those of you who know
Yeah,
MOSs in the military out there, you know what that is. I'm not looking it up. I don't know what the screw it. I'll look it up real quick for you, just to show you guys what the job is called. Information
right,
technology specialist, right? They work with
right,
radios, right? And
yeah,
information, right? Anyways, he got transferred over to the Space Force from the army, right? And he got
yeah,
trained on it, and he basically the way he described it to me, like I don't know the ins and outs, and there's some secret clearance stuff that you have to get for top secret clearances, so he can't describe everything to me, right?
no,
The things that he can't describe to me are like the sensitive information that comes through for this stuff, right? But he can describe to me
right,
how his job works, and he basically said, I talk to satellites, I decode them, and I tell our people what they say.
right,
Right then and there, he talks to satellites, right? He decodes satellites. That means we have
right,
satellites in space.
yeah,
So, I mean, it's not like he's talking to some central computer somewhere, you know?
right,
He's like, no, I get, he's like, I can GPS position and track exactly where I get the information from. That's what he told me.
right, yeah. Like honestly, at this point, if you're just tuning in now and you weren't here for the earlier segments, I suggest giving it a watch. Honestly, but yeah, it's. I'm sorry. As much as you like to believe the Earth is flat, there's just too many things discrediting that with actual scientific evidence behind it. Whereas a lot of the flat Earth arguments I always hear fall flat. They don't have any scientific proof. They've not got actual proof. It's all speculation and talking about being lied to. Um, the government's lying to us, NASA's lying to us. And honestly, it's not that important, as I've already said before. It's not. It doesn't really affect you whether the Earth is flat
Right.
or round, unless you need it for something specific. GPS, whether you're a weapons manufacturer who uses guided systems or something like that. Unless you're somebody who's working in space, spacecrafts or airplanes, you don't really need to know this kind of stuff, really. You just don't. And I just don't think it's that big of a deal as much as people make it out to be. It's more of a conspiracy rather than an actual fact that people can sit there and look at and go, oh, yeah, definitely. In my opinion. When it comes to a lot of the stuff that a lot of these flat earthers say and when they try and prove things, um, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say after this
Well,
point. I
we can
think we
just go
discussed
into
enough.
our off-topic hour here,
Mm-hmm.
and I do have a little surprise for you guys. Three,
Oh, yeah.
two, one, boom! We have a new background for the off-topic hour now.
Hey. Hell
So,
yeah.
now is the off-topic hour where we get away from talking about flat Earth and we just talk about whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is our ADHD
Sounds.
hour.
Oh, yeah. Well, we let our ADHD run rampant and we just talk about stuff.
So,
Uh,
I think what better way to start than what we were talking about during the break?
what else we talking about? I
Oh
can't
wow, you
remember.
already forgot.
ADHD brain. Hello.
About For the King
Uh,
2.
oh, yeah, for the king, too.
Yeah, so we,
Hi.
we we played through so after our last podcast last week, me and Aaron well Aaron bought me the game. Thank you very much for that.
You're very welcome, bro.
And we after our last podcast we did the I guess now they have chapters instead of like actual different like levels of the game or like
Right,
versions of
yeah,
the
yeah.
game. They have like chapters, so it's an actual like story now. And we did the first chapter. Which was a lot of fun. It definitely motivates you to get your task done quickly at the beginning.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that, it
you get
was,
a bit more time as you play on in that first chapter, but it's like go go go, get it done.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Very well done as well, I might add. Like, at first it was like a bit ridiculous. It was like, oh my god, have we really got this little amount of time? But it was very well done. If you have played Fodder King 1 and you are interested in Fodder King 2, there's a lot of quality of life changes. I like the new system. It's a little bit confusing at first. Like, there were some points where we were sat there like, oh, I don't understand this and whatnot. But once we figured it all out, it was very, very fun. Absolutely phenomenal co-op game.
yeah. So my take on it, one thing, like I said, I suggested for the game, right, was you, you have to pick new characters for each new mission, each new level, like as the story progresses. I think you should be able to continue on with your character because that's the way that the style of story mode goes, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's like, okay,
Because,
you were the heroes in this first chapter, now you're in chapter two, but it's different heroes. Like, it makes no sense to me.
yeah, where'd all my gear go? What happened to him? You know?
Right.
Chronologically, it just doesn't really add up very well. Um, in my opinion. Maybe they'll change it in the future and make like a full-on campaign where you pretty much go through every chapter in one go with a single team, and you bring your gear from a previous chapter to the next. I feel like definitely be a good quality of life change for the game. Like, if they want to keep things the way they've programmed the game, I'm not telling them to remove it. I'm just saying make a separate game mode where we can do this, because it just doesn't make sense. We're part of the resistance. We're supposed to be stopping the queen, right?
Yeah.
Um, then what happened to our heroes? If we just defeated the bad guys and whatnot, why are we suddenly just taking out the story all of a sudden?
Right.
We didn't lose to anybody. It wasn't like the first one where we destroyed the portal and sacrificed ourselves. It was literally we took on the Bandit King. He said, "You ain't heard the last of me. Why is a different group fighting the Bandit King instead?" Then, hmm?
Right.
So it's kind of like going into you know when they break the fourth wall. It's kind of like fourth wall territory. It's not saying that to your characters; they're essentially saying that to you, the player. Instead, so to speak. But yeah, definitely it is a phenomenal game. They have
Yeah.
a new combat system behind it, lots of new items. I'm really liking the items. Some of them are fantastic. I like it that items have different tiers now and progressively get better with new moves.
I like the loadout system
Um,
too.
oh yeah.
Yeah. The fact that you can have like straight up loadouts now to go into a game with, that makes it a lot more
Ah,
interesting, and you're not all just carrying the same items.
yeah. It obviously gives you a lot more creativity with how you want to start as well. Because
I will say
while
now
the
that they
first one,
have 4 players, it makes the enemies a lot harder too.
oh yeah, I mean, what was it? Our first fight? Literally, our first fight was against an ogre with like over 100 health.
Yeah.
We weren't even level one because we took a quest. It was like kill the ogre, and I was just like, what is going on? Like, I died. My character died. We had to revive him. It was crazy. But yeah, the thing is with the first game, like obviously, depending what you pick to determine what items you got at the start, right? So if you was herbalist, you'd start off with a very specific set of items to begin the game. The loadout system's definitely a new, fresh, and refreshing take, for sure. Because it basically allows you so much leeway to kind of go off with a bang, or you could seriously handicap yourself on purpose if you really want to make a challenge run where you start off with like nothing. It just adds more possibilities for the player. Definitely.
Right. But
Um,
yeah, I mean, I'm excited to play the next few chapters here and definitely see where the game takes us.
oh, definitely, definitely. That
And on
would.
the topic of flat Earth, real quick, I played Starfield and Earth is not flat. Just saying.
Yeah,
I've been to Earth on
yeah,
there. It's not flat.
yeah. It's not fun. Yeah.
So debunked.
Yeah, even video games that you don't really go to for facts. Yeah, but wait a minute. They got ready to go for facts and information are disproving the flat Earth.
Right.
But I mean, what more do you want? Um,
But
honestly, though, in all seriousness, um, definitely recommend giving For the King 2 a go.
yes, I as well. I definitely recommend it. I think it's a great value right now too. I think it's like what, like 50% off, I want to say.
I have no idea what the price is anymore.
I'll check real quick for you guys if you guys are interested in playing.
Yeah.
I highly, highly recommend this game. I'm
Why
not
do that?
sponsored by them at all or nothing like that. I enjoy their games. I think they're fantastic. 24.99 right now is what it is, stateside if you're trying to buy it. Um, Developer is Iron Oak Games. Publisher is Curve Games. Again, I'm not sponsored by these guys. I'm just giving them a shout out because they make fantastic games and I highly enjoy playing their games. So, um, it's 24.99 for the game right now. And then if you want the soundtrack for the game too, it's an additional $7. But if you like D&D and you like D&D style games, Baldur's Gate 3 is another one that's great out there, but this is also one that's more like cartoonish and a little bit more like story driven. Like it's not open, it is open world, but it's not. It tells you where to go and what to do. Very simply. But yeah, I don't know what
Sorry,
this
I'm
is.
back. I
But
had to
yeah,
go
so
get my food.
you're fine. But yeah, like I said, I'm not sponsored by these guys at all, but I do recommend their games. They're a lot of fun. War the King 2 is
Hmm.
out now. It's 24.99, 6.99 for the soundtrack if you want that as well. But it's a lot of fun and
Oh yeah.
you know, a great little fun game to play with your friends.
Fantastic co-op game for you to play with your friends for sure. And you can even play it solo. You don't need friends.
Yeah,
Um,
if you're like me on most days, I'm just some lonely loser. You can play like that.
hmm
Not saying people who are lonely are losers. I'm just saying myself.
Yeah. Because you have a party of four, but even if you have two people, for example, two you can control two characters each. It allows you to do that in the game. You don't need extra controllers. It's a turn-based game, so
All right.
essentially, if you're on your own, you control all four characters. If you don't have a full team of four, you can control a certain amount of characters each. Um, so essentially, either way, you're always going to be able to play with friends or play by yourself and still get the full experience.
Right. But yeah. Beyond that, I don't think I can give him any more hype.
Mm-mm.
So what you been up to lately over the last week?
Just been streaming on YouTube for the most part, playing D&D. Um, I've been
What
having a lot of
character? What kind of
success with
character do
YouTube
you
at the
play?
moment. What kind of character do I play in D&D?
Yeah.
So I'm in two different campaigns at the moment. I've got my football called Big D. No, it's not a innuendo. His name's Daisuke, but he's 8 foot tall. People call him Big D. That's his name. He's basically dumb. He's a completely dumb furball. He's got really low intelligence. He's not very smart. He's more muscle, but he is kind of wise when it comes to combat. But he doesn't pick up on things. It's not like other people where they'll pick up on things during conversational tones, and um, he's just very simple-minded. Is the best way I can describe it. And he's a moon druid, barbarian, and is well loved within the town. We're part of like a D&D town community. And then in my other D&D campaign, I have a character that's an Asimar, and we have Kibble's races, and stuff like that. Kibble's classes or whatever it were. And I'm currently playing somebody known as Rotten Finger. He's called Thanasotos. He likes to specialize in necromantic damage, but a little bit of a funny situation happened where there was a goblin trying to squeeze out of this window to get away from us, and he used his necrotic finger spell up the butt. And now essentially he does that to all his enemies, and it's become a funny little running joke that we have. When he does his spirit guardians, he summons the souls of the fingered. So all the people that he's disintegrated with his necrotic touch essentially become part of his spell essentially for spirit guardians and stuff. It's been absolutely funny.
Huh. Yeah, my last character I had, man, I was a I'm trying to remember, man. It's been so long since I've actually been a character for D&D.
Hmm.
I've done a lot of DMing
Yeah.
in my last few years of doing D&D. But my actual last character I had, I believe he was a let's say I had a druid. It was either this one's either my last or my second to last one I had, but I remember having
hmm
a druid sorcerer. It was a
Yeah.
dual class. And he was a half orc, half elf, which is a complete like oxymoron.
Hmm.
So he had like average intelligence, but and the strength of an orc.
Yeah.
Um, but he had like the magical capabilities of the Fae. So
Hmm. Yeah.
um, I was basically the guy who buffed up the team.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Big D is more of a
And then
tank,
if
and
they needed the extra muscle, my guy could provide it, but he was mainly the
yeah.
buff for the team.
hmm
I was able to give like extra DPS to players, extra actions to players, things like that.
Yeah.
I had minor healing abilities.
Nice. Yeah, Big D is more of a tank slash support because his wild traits are very versatile. Whereas Thanatos is supposed to be the healer of the group, essentially, but he's kind of turned into this guy that just disintegrates people. It's funny. But they might be inviting me to a Saturday game as well, because we recently had an anniversary for their sessions the Saturday just gone. I mean, they're all having a drink and whatnot, playing a drinking game. And I met the Saturday group who the DM usually runs with, and they're talking about possibly getting me into the Saturday sessions as well. So we're playing another character on top of that at some point. I don't know what I'm going to go with, but yeah, definitely been a really fun time. Um, but right now, I'm kind of just focusing on my YouTube, doing my D&D whenever that comes around, and yeah, these podcasts pretty much. I'm not really doing much else. What about you?
Uh, basically, just I work. Uh, I work night shifts. I work at a
Hmm.
prison right now. So yeah, I'm working there. I have a 3 day a week and a 4 day a week. Work about
Hmm.
I would say maybe like 88, 89 hours in those 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They're long shifts. Um,
Hmm.
but beyond that, like on my off days, occasionally on the weekend I might go out to a bar with some friends.
Yeah.
I don't drink too often. If I do go out, I have like one or two drinks.
Hmm.
Um, I got to see the other weekend, not this last weekend, but the weekend before. I got to hang out with a really close friend of mine that I haven't seen since I left for Colorado.
Nice.
So yeah, he came out here for a visit. Um,
Hmm.
so I got to hang out with him and see him, and
Yeah.
he was in a darker place when I left, but he seems to be doing way 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 better. So I'm very very happy for him, very proud of him.
Nice. That's good. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's just funny because we all reconnected and we all just seem a lot more healthier and better off and just doing better generally. So
Hmm.
uh, not to
That's it.
quote Blink 22 here, but I guess this is growing up, you know. So we're all
Yeah.
we're all doing a lot better now. But yeah, beyond work, I mean, like I said, I'm just doing that, and then if not, I'm usually at my parents' house and helping them out with
Yeah.
they have some chickens, so I'm helping them out with that.
Hmm.
Um, helping them out with like you know, get just bringing stuff in the house and helping them, just trying to help them out around the house, or playing video games, or yeah, just kind of do better myself. I'm in school again, so
Yeah.
currently in a master's program, but I might be switching out of that to go do cybersecurity instead.
Fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
I'm looking into that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't want to give too much more detail on that yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Yeah. In regards to for the king as well, like we're only on chapter one, right?
Yeah.
Probably be through chapter two by the end of tonight. Maybe we'll see. Um, so yeah, we'll definitely update you guys if our opinion ever changes and whatnot. Probably. We're not really a gaming podcast channel. We did gaming with the Halloween special with Phasmophobia and the Spirit of the Thing. Who knows? Maybe if people are interested enough, we might do some gaming here and there from time to time. Um, if you'd be down for that,
Yeah, I'd be down for it. So we just need more people in our community here. If you guys want to join Discord.
yeah. Um, I was thinking something like for off topic hour maybe would could be sometimes we can maybe play a game for a little bit. Potentially once we get more people and stuff like that. As of right now, though, I think for me, direction wise, what I want to do is just improve myself. Make things better for myself mentally, spiritually. physically, work on my health a bit more. I'm back to quitting smoking again. So, cold turkey in it. I've done it before. I eventually relapsed after I don't know how long, 7 or 8 months or something. I don't remember. But yeah, I'm going strong, trying to get back on track with that.
That's good,
Because
man. That's awesome.
yeah, definitely. Don't really go to the gym, but I do have an exercise bike. I need to use it more. I bought it and I've not really used it that much. I need to start getting more into using that, stop being so lazy about it.
Right. But yeah. I'm kind of down to play support the king. How about you?
Yeah, I'm down. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, I think this about wraps it up. I mean, this is how we're going to be doing the podcast from now on. We'll do our off-topic hour. That's what it's called, but we might do it for about 30 minutes or so sometimes. So,
Yeah, it depends how much we have to talk about and whatnot, obviously.
yeah. So, we'll catch you guys next week on Wednesday,
Wednesday, yeah.
and we will be talking about time travel.
Mm.
So, brace
Definitely going to be
yourselves.
an interesting topic and a lot of
Yeah.
interesting
So, we're
conversations.
going to go over the myth, the facts, everything about it.
Right.
Movies, pop culture, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. That'd be
So
fun.
there's quite a bit to talk about. So love to see you guys on Wednesday. Again, follow,
Yep.
subscribe, like, comment, dislike, comment, join
Tell us
Discord.
why.
Yeah, we also got our email linked on our Twitch and on our YouTube. So if you want to send us an email, I check that daily. So
Yep.
yeah, go ahead and email us for suggestions or anything else. You can give me death threats, hate mail, whatever you want. I don't care.
All right.
So till then, see everybody Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Thank you
Bye
very
for
much,
now.
everybody, for tuning in. Thank you.